This is not science fiction. It's not a Star Trek series. This is for real, you guys. This is for real. This is the home of the progenitor tall gray. Sirius A and B, under this current identification from the aerospace people, that they are Nordics and water-living humanoids. No, I do feel like 26 in terms of my energy and my spirit. And the fact that I have had 80 revolutions around the sun, and then am told in 2021 by a major aerospace engineer that we know that the tall whites have 500 to 800 year lives. And suddenly that makes sense to me, because I would love to have a 500 or 800 year life. And one of the questions about us Homo sapiens sapiens is, why were we made with such short lives? And when I asked that question to an extraordinary individual that I met in this conference, who has a lot of connections to the Pentagon, and I asked him, why do we have such short lives? He said, it's too deep a subject to go in here. And I think it is a key. I think it is a key to why there was the manipulation of DNA in already evolving primates in the beginning. And today, this will be a humble journey through just a few of the slices of why I think of it as a hall of mirrors with a quicksand floor. I personally, in a life of 80 revolutions around the sun, don't remember a time as turbulent as this one, unless I go back to the 1960s, where I got my back beaten by a billy club fighting against the Vietnam War. And given the turbulent and revolutionary times that we are now living in, there is also growing and persistent buzz that finally the Pentagon could be getting ready to crack open the big secret that we're not alone in this universe. And there might even be a congressional hearing for the public this year of 2022, according to sources that I have, to receive testimony under oath for the very first time from military and aerospace professionals who have firsthand information about other intelligence based on Earth, our moon, Mars, inside Jupiter's huge Ganymede moon, and beyond to other solar systems in the Milky Way galaxy. This is not science fiction. It's not a Star Trek series. This is for real, you guys. This is for real. And sadly, there have been strict policies of lies and denials since World War II about UFOs and ETs interacting with Earth, while power brokers have had vested interests in keeping the real facts from the public world. So trying to crack open the truth is like running through a hall of mirrors with a quicksand floor. And I wouldn't be standing here now in February of 2022 if I had not tried hard for the past 43 years to answer honestly who, what, and why are wild and domestic animals all over this planet killed and mutilated without blood or tracks. When I produced my television documentary, A Strange Harvest, that was first broadcast by the CBS station in Denver, Colorado on May 25, 1980, law enforcement and ranchers had been the first to tell me, quote, "The perpetrators of animal mutilations are creatures from outer space," close quote. But which creatures? From where and why? Here is a November 2016 comparison, only 6 years ago, of the top photo, in which an entire udder was excised from a 1,200-pound cow in John Day, Oregon, that was pregnant with a 1-month-old calf. The bottom photo was taken 33 years ago on March 10th, 1989 in Hope, Arkansas, when the entire udder was bloodlessly cut from a pregnant cow, while her unborn calf was found dead in the embryo sac inside of the cow. This photo was taken after the farmer dragged the dead calf away. And then, only 6 years ago, on March 14, 2016, this large, bloodless, rectangular excision of a pregnant cow's udder, only hide deep, was found on a dead, pregnant Angus cow on the Windmill Angus Ranch in Hagler, Nebraska. That night, the owner saw a blast of white light fill their bedroom, and at the same time, all of their automatic outdoor lights shut off. Even controlled remote viewers working in the late 1980s at Fort Meade, Maryland for the Defense Intelligence Agency on the top secret Stargate controlled remote viewing project reported that the cosmos is teeming with consciousness. Some of it is friendly, some neutral, and some unfriendly to humans on Earth. Since the current model of standing up primates that we call Homo sapiens sapien emerged alongside Neanderthals some 45,000 years ago, why would anything in this universe be hostile to humans who are like babies in the universe, or to any Earth life? Was there ET hostility in the animal mutilations? Or were all those strange bloodless excisions of tissue actually calculated harvests of genetic material because the perpetrators are using some genetic ingredients from Earth life specifically to make clones and hybrids that can survive and work on this particular planet Earth? In 1979 to 1980, I remember my confusion and fear about whatever it was in the sky that could use a beam to lift a 1,700-pound cow from pastures and then bloodlessly excise an ear, eye, tongue, jaw flesh, genitals, and rectum. This anonymous postcard, dated June 19, 1989, reached the post office box that I had in Littleton, Colorado, after my first book, An Alien Harvest, was released in June of 1989 about my animal mutilation investigations. And a decade of US government efforts to intimidate and stop me from investigating. I have never ever gone into the public of all the things the government did, trying to get me to stop. And it was a real wake-up call, because I think it was finally my transition from realizing that being an American does not mean that you are protected by your government. Here is what this postcard said. Dear Linda, congratulations on an alien harvest, an outstanding truth, an exemplary, inestimable document. You have one half of the equation. The other one half is truly the nightmare beyond telling. A few know, but still remain silent, close quote. Today, as this conscious life intensive unfolds, I will share with you recent 2021 to 2022 whistleblower information that perhaps gives insights to this postcard, and especially the other one half that is a nightmare beyond telling. This photo on the front of the postcard is a scene from The Day the Earth Stood Still, released in 1951 by 20th Century Fox Film Corporation. In the UFO's doorway, there is an extraterrestrial humanoid named Klaatu, with his hand raised as if in a friendly greeting. In front is the powerful robot, Gort. They have come to Earth to deliver a warning that humans will not be allowed to spread their nuclear violence into space. And that was only 6 years after the United States dropped the atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan, that ended World War II. 3 decades after The Atomic Bombs, my Emmy Award-winning TV documentary, A Strange Harvest, was first broadcast about the bloodless, trackless animal mutilations throughout Colorado, the United States, Canada, and around the world since at least the early 1960s. I produced the documentary when I was director of special projects for KMGH TV Channel 7, then CBS in Denver. I had worked 18-hour days for 9 straight months trying to understand who or what was killing and mutilating so many different animals, both domestic and wild, and why. That included deer, elk, reindeer, marmots, foxes, rabbits, as well as cattle and horses. So the anonymous 1989 postcard after my book, An Alien Harvest, was released, implied there was a shocking and disturbing revelation about the agenda behind the UFO and ET phenomena. A Strange Harvest was first broadcast on the evening of May 25, 1980, to the largest audience in the Denver station's history from then to now for a nonfiction documentary. That meant to me that I was only scratching the surface of a huge iceberg of people who knew the animal mutilations were a real and serious phenomenon. And during my documentary production, retired Logan County Sheriff Tex Graves and several deputy sheriffs who frequently saw this big mama UFO emitting what locals called baby UFOs, they all told me, quote, "Linda, the perpetrators are creatures from outer space," close quote, based on their seeing these UFOs in the night over the pastures where they were investigating mutilated animals. I also heard firsthand descriptions from ranchers who had seen round glowing aerial objects emit beams of light down into pastures. Some had even seen a cow rise in a beam of light, later to be found dead and mutilated. Others had seen an animal lowered right before them in a beam of light to the ground, and then would find the animal dead and mutilated. None of those ranchers would go on the record in front of my TV camera for fear of sarcastic ridicule by other humans. A typical animal mutilation like this one from 1976 in Colorado had its lower jaw and nose flesh bloodlessly excised to clean white bone, along with the removal of its tongue deep within the cow's throat. Ask any hunter, how would you do this? How would you reduce jaw flesh and the cartilage to clean bone? And the answer is not only from people who hunt, but from veterinarians who I've asked. There is only one way. You would have to boil the jawbone for a long time to get that as clean as these animals are found, still warm to touch. Often, there has been what ranchers call a cookie cutter circular removal of flesh around the eye, along with the eyeball, like this Polaroid photo shows. Other bloodless excisions include the removal of genitals, like this bull calf's penis excision in Manila, Utah, discovered on October 22nd, 1982. There was not a single drop of blood anywhere on that white-haired stomach. Just the month before, on September 9th, 1982, near Colorado Springs, Colorado, exactly 1/2 of this pregnant cow's udder was cut away on a bright sunny afternoon only 1/4 of a mile from where the ranch owners were painting their house outdoors all day. So close, and yet neither rancher heard any disturbance, and there was not a trace of blood, milk, or other fluid on that dead pregnant cow's white stomach hair. Rectal tissue is often removed in a large, clean hole, and vaginal tissues in females are also removed along with the rectal tissue, as shown in this 1975 Colorado Polaroid image. And then there is the pathology evidence that the bloodless excisions of an ear, eye, skin around the eye, jaw flesh, tongue, genital, and rectal tissue are cut out with heat by an unknown instrument as shown in this Oregon State University pathologist report of a mutilated steer in 1990 that states, quote, "It does appear consistent with a heat-induced injury," close quote. That Oregon 1990 pathology report was about the bottom serrated edge in this image. The upper photo was a similar serrated edge from a mutilated cow 15 years earlier in Great Falls, Montana in 1975. And I made a note to myself to just tell you something. Sheriff Tex Graves, on that meeting that I had with him in Sterling, Colorado, he told me that on his very first animal mutilation investigation in 1970, he asked a veterinarian to go with him. And it was a large, approximately 1,700 pound, that was a cow. And the veterinarian went and started the necropsy. I've been with veterinarians and I've experienced what it is like to do necropsies. It's like men used to take apart car engines before the computer age. It's the same thing, that you're out in a field and the veterinarian begins and they have a very precise, and they start opening up parts of the animal and they lay everything in very neat, orderly, and then they make all of their observations in a notebook about what they are doing in the field. And the sheriff said, the vet looked up at me and said, "Tex, I want you to look at this." And the sheriff told me the vet had on gloves, and it was late afternoon light, and all he could see was glistening on his index finger. And Tex said, "What are you showing me?" He said, "Lean down here." He said, "This is the pericardium. This pericardium should be surrounding a large adult cow heart. Sheriff, look." And the chest had no heart. And the vet said to Tex Graves, "Look down here. I found this pericardium collapsed inside of this chest. There is no clotted blood. There is no clotted blood in the veins or the arteries. The only thing left is this pericardium. And Sheriff, I cannot find one single excision in this pericardium. How do you get a 9 by 11 by 12 inch, this is about the size of cow hearts, how do you get it out of the pericardium, out of the rib cage of an animal in their chest, with no surgery anywhere on the body and no excision in the pericardium?" Later, I would have a discussion with a man who was at the time leading in laser surgery research in Denver. And he said, perhaps, Linda, 50 years from now, which would have been 50 years from 1979, he said, "I imagine that we will have molecular specific surgery. And that means it will be done with frequencies that will go through skin, cartilage, bone, and you want to take out a gallbladder, it will interact only with the gallbladder. There will be no cuts, no surgeries, no bleeding. It will be molecular extraction, as was happening in animal mutilations back in the early 1960s. In my documentary, A Strange Harvest, I featured a human abduction case in which a mother, Judy Doherty, and her teenage daughter, Cindy, have both been taken aboard a craft in May of 1973 outside Houston, Texas. Inside the craft, a pasty-skinned being with large snake eyes, because they had vertical pupils, excised tissue from a calf that Judy Doherty was her whole name, had been seen rising in a pale yellow beam from a pasture alongside the road that she and her family were traveling from a Houston, Texas bingo game that night to their home. Dr. Leo Sprinkle, then head of counseling and testing at the University of Wyoming in Cheyenne, who I honor so much. He was the kindest human being I have ever met. I worked with him for a very long time on a strange harvest, and after, he passed about 3 weeks ago. I hope you are happy, Leo, wherever you are. Leo joined my cameraman and me to film a hypnosis session in March of 1980 for my documentary, A Strange Harvest. And I'm going to play for you now an excerpt from Judy Doherty.
For some reason, they projected that it was necessary this be done, that, that it was for our betterment, for the betterment of mankind, that this was done. That they were more or less watching out for us.
So you felt better when you had that
Yes.
impression of not only precision, but also a benevolent or a kind attitude
Right.
for people?
I can't say that they were kind.
But concerned?
I can't even say that they were concerned. They were just like doing a job that evidently it affects them too. And it has to do with somehow nuclear waste or testing, or they've been here for quite some time. They test the soil as well as our water, as well as our animal life, our vegetation. When I question why they aren't saying more, and why they can't stop it if they're so knowledgeable and they get angry. I don't know. I don't understand that.
You don't know why they get angry?
I don't know why they don't. I don't know why they get angry, and I don't know why they can't stop it if they're so knowledgeable.
And now I want to share with you insights that I first received from a trusted science whistleblower in July of 2021 about the reason for animal mutilations on Earth by extraterrestrials. And the first thing I want to do now, and I don't know in the condition of this room if you're going to be able to see clearly. I was hoping we had a larger screen. See, I don't think that's going to translate very well, is it? I'm building a solar system from Earth out to other solar systems map based on information that I'm getting from two people who are extremely reliable. I wish that I could name them, where they work, what they do, and you would be stunned. And that my map is based on their reliable information. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just at least play. This goes into a Zoom, and then I don't know. I'll go ahead and proceed as if we could see this. Here is a star map of Earth's interstellar neighborhood. I'm trying to organize what I've learned so far from a variety of sources about where actual extraterrestrial civilizations are alleged to be around us and how far away. Look how crowded our interstellar neighborhood is. Here we are on Earth, the red solar system, and the yellow underlined Earth and Sun. Within 20 light years of Earth, at least 10 intelligent humanoid species have been described to me, including the tall whites on 82G Eridani and the Nordic blondes on Procyon A and B and Sirius A and B. Now I'm going to try, I don't know whether it's really not very, this is not a very good way to do this presentation, but it's what we've got. Okay, I'm going to try, let's see, if for those of you, I'll start with, let's see, I think I'll try it like this. Epsilon Indi. You've probably never heard of it before. This is the home of the progenitor tall grays. They are 7, 8 feet tall. They are the thin ones. Every once in a while, an abductee draws and sketches and said, I was 5 feet and they were about 3 feet taller. They are 8 feet. They are very thin. They are not robust. They are the makers of the artificial intelligence that fills all the other solar system research. So here's Epsilon Indi. Around our solar system, here, Earth, our sun. Around our solar system is a cluster of inhabited planets that starts 82 G Eridani. These are the tall whites. I have 2 solid, very experienced sources who have each one sought me out saying, we have followed your work for a long time and we now want you to be able to talk about the other solar systems, telling me that since 1972, only 3 years after the Apollo program, there was a Space Force with a Space Force uniform that worked in collaboration with the tall whites and tall Nordics. Procyon A and B, when you get home and computer, start looking up some of these, Procyon A and B. Nordics from Rigel or Rigel, depending upon which source of pronunciation you're reading. Here's Rigel. Here's my note, Reptilian now. Originally Nordics, before the Procyon Exodus. What these sources have told me is that we really are in a Star Trek, Star Wars kind of existence. People would be shocked. And there's been a constant battle between tall Nordics and reptilians going on for eons, not just on Earth. And that the Procyon A and B position in the solar system of the Nordics here, they were chased out of Rigel by reptilians and they hate each other and they're always trying to annihilate each other. The Tau Ceti, you may never have heard this, Carl Sagan and Drake at Cornell University actually had a photograph of a red-haired alleged Tau Cetian back in what would have been around the early 80s, and that it was red-haired. And today, my current sources say Tau Ceti has humanoids with reddish hair. I had already seen and heard about the Carl Sagan Drake long ago, and so that seems to be consistent. Sirius A and B. Throughout history, you've probably heard a lot about Sirius, and we know the whole Orion Sirius layout of Cheops and the Sphinx. Well, Sirius A and B, under this current identification from the aerospace people, that they are Nordics and water-living humanoids. And what is amazing is before I was given this specific piece of information, a year and a half ago, a full 18 months ago, a man contacted me and said, I don't think I want my name ever to be used, but he said, I want you to know I have been to a planet that orbits Sirius, and it was Sirius A, and he said, I was in a city of some sort with tremendous architecture, but the beings were water beings, and everything was built for them to go into the water and out of the water. And he said they were humanoid. They didn't look like dolphins or whales, but that they were humanoids so adapted to going in and out of the water that the whole city was made for that. Then, working up to here, Epsilon Eridani. It's only 10 light years from Earth and the Sun. This is what the postcard is alluding to. Hostile insects. Hostile insects that you're going to hear more about that are so advanced, they may be the most advanced of all the intelligences, unfortunately. And that for whatever are the reasons, they have no compassion, no morality, that they are able to manipulate time, they are able to move in space tunnel, point to point. And these hostile insects of Epsilon Eridani, close in this crowded area of this little arm in the Milky Way galaxy, is currently a huge problem. And up here, I want to raise something before I start now sharing with you information presented to President Reagan about the insect threat. Up here, Aldebaran, or Aldebaran, whichever pronunciation you prefer. Blonde, blue-eyed, with Hitler, World War II. And the information that I'm now going to go into you with this as a background. These, at Epsilon Eridani, can be on Earth and look like the blonde, blue-eyed species that Hitler was obsessed with creating a population that would control Earth as blonde, blue-eyed. And they wanted what? They wanted the extermination of the Hebrews. And remember, I started out by talking about the fight, the constant competition between the tall blondes that had to leave Procyon A and B because the reptilians came in. I am humble in presenting this information to you because I cannot prove it. But I think finally it is important to consider the possibility that what happened in World War II, what was behind Hitler's obsession, was to support this. The insects want Earth. They've wanted Earth for a long time. They do not want Earth with humanity on it. They are 1,000 years in advance of us. The tall Nordics and the tall whites may or may not be able to defeat. Who is in our universe who could literally protect this planet is what is in play. And I'm not trying to cause fear. It's that I have been dealing with these difficult subjects for 43 years. And the more I have learned, and the less I have seen the world public knowing anything, it is as if the insects and those that want Earth and they want humans to remain dumb and blind because it makes everything they're doing so much easier. The more knowledge we have, the more awareness, just my very talking to you tonight, may open up something in your brains that will make you less vulnerable to what appears to be the easiest con job in the cosmos, keeping humans dumb and blind while their planet is taken.